Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, Ethan. Welcome. Ethan, where are you connecting in from? So, my name is Mike Gelman. I am a career coach and I work in a Fortune 500 organization, do a lot of coaching there, as well as an internal consulting. And, I facilitate a lot of discussions among leaders, planning for the rising stars in the organization. I also work with a lot of employees who are trying to change their careers, or just maybe you're a high performer and you just want to take it to the next level. And so, I have replays of my broadcasts on my Facebook author page. So again, I'm the author of Pipe Dreams, 7 Pipelines of Career Success. And my Facebook author page, you can go to facebook.com/7pipelines, the number 7 pipelines. Or you can go to mikegelman.com, learn more information. There's some information there. There's a link to my book on Amazon. But really what this is all about is just providing some advice and support to everyone, people out there that are suffering. That's why I do this. They're feeling stuck in their career for one reason or another. And, so I want to help them take charge of their career. And, I've seen a lot of people needlessly suffer, and that's a big part of it. And I love to help people reach their potential. I really get a lot of satisfaction out of that. So I've been doing podcasts for a week now. This is a 1-week anniversary for the Periscopes. And so it's been pretty cool ride so far. Some interesting interactions with people, some good questions. And so tonight, what I thought I would focus on is, this will probably be a shorter broadcast tonight. It's kind of late. But tonight is really about taking the necessary actions. So, many employees that come to me are frustrated. Welcome, Otto. Many employees that come to me are frustrated with their career, their progress that they're making. And, after talking to them, many times I just find out that they're not really taking any actions to move towards their goals. And so, welcome, Van. Good evening. So they're not taking action to move towards their goals. And, a challenge is oftentimes they're just stuck in kind of complaining what they don't like. They're dissatisfied with their boss or their peers or maybe their job. Feeling great, Van. Thank you. How are you? So, and when it comes to our careers, certainly having a clear vision of what we want, that's great. So having a clear vision of what we want, if you have any questions about your career questions, Van or Ethan, feel free to ask. So, if you have a goal of yours, one of the key things is to take action. And there's a quote that's kind of that I like. I'm going to read a quote. It's in my book. You're working 9 to 5 right now. Okay. Is that working for you? You prefer that schedule? You always stay late. Is that bad? That depends. Are you paid hourly? Are you exempt? Are you paid just a salary no matter how many hours you work? Wow. So you worked a 13-hour day, Van? No hourly, no overtime. Well, so what kind of job is this, or what kind of industry? Welcome, TJ. Design. Okay. That could be a whole nother discussion. I think tomorrow we're going to talk about self-care. I'm going to do a 5 o'clock, broadcast on that, but we can address that a little bit tonight. I don't know how that's affecting you. Those are some long days. I've had some days like that. but I know if I get too many of those in a row, it's not good for me. Eventually, you start to burn out, right? I don't know if you're feeling burned out or not, but those are some long days. But if you love what you're doing and you're just thriving on it, some people thrive on it, right? They thrive on it, so it's all right. Okay. So listen to this quote here, and this is from Ted Dreyer. He's the author of this silly little book. It's called Moosey's Cow Wisdom. Get a load of that. Got to have a little bit of fun here. Part-time as a bartender on the weekend. Oh, wow. So you put in a lot of hours. Okay. Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, right? You have to kind of pay your rent or pay your mortgage, whatever you have, and whatever bills. So, yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so he says, expecting opportunity to knock while you do nothing is like expecting to get milk by holding out a bucket. Get a load of that. I'll read it again. Expecting opportunity to knock while you do nothing is like expecting to get milk while holding out a bucket, right? Isn't that funny? So, but that's a philosophy. It's kind of silly in a way, but that's a philosophy many people have, is kind of we're wishing and we're hoping, right? We're wishing and we're hoping for that great opportunity to show up for us. What do I do for a living? Ben, I'm a career coach, and I work in a Fortune 500 organization, and I also have my own private coaching practice. I'm the author of Pipe Dreams, 7 Pipelines of Career Success. And you can go, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to mikegelman.com, learn more about me there, or my Facebook author page, facebook.com/7pipelines, number 7 pipelines. Like the page, like the Periscope, or follow me on the Periscope. That way you'll get notified when I'm about to come on. Usually I announce, I'll send out an email earlier in the day. And so I've worked with a nonprofit, I've worked in government, Canine Board and Train, welcome. So I think I've seen you on my brother's Periscopes, if I'm not mistaken. So, great, yeah, and don't forget, absolutely, share this with others. And, if you're new to Periscope and you have an iPhone, you can swipe it to the left to right and share. Oh, thanks for the hearts, that's great. Let's see, DeBorgine, welcome. What would you prefer to be called? Eventually I'll start remembering people's names. So in any event, Quote Peterson, so welcome. So again, we've got a lot of new people on. So, again, my name is Mike Gelman, and I am a career coach. And I work in a Fortune 500 company. I also do a lot of private coaching. Tonight we're talking about taking action, and we often get caught in the trap of just wishing and hoping, right, for that next opportunity, and we'll lament and complain. Hey, I've been there too, all right? I'm not saying I'm above anyone. I've been there too, and wow, look at all these hearts. That's great. So I've been there. It's easy when you get stuck, and what happens is your vision just gets narrow, right? You get in your own little world, and you're kind of focused on kind of what isn't working, right? You're focused on what isn't working. And so what I always recommend is, if you don't already have some clear goals, is to focus on that, getting clarity. And I'm actually going to do a Periscope on vision. I'll even share some of my personal goals with you on one of these Periscopes, if that's something that would be useful to you, including a vision board that I have developed, and it's very powerful when you have a clear vision or clear goals and you write them down. And so, welcome, man. So one of the things you can do is and I even need to get better at this, but what are 5 daily actions that you can take each day? So whether you do it at night or first thing in the morning, identify what are 5 steps you can take, even if they're tiny. Right? It might be a phone call. It might be going to lunch with somebody at work, someone new in terms of networking. It might be doing something you love and enjoy with your work and just doing a little bit more of that in your day. It could be small stuff. It might be making a call if you're out of work. It might be making a call to an employer as a follow-up. Maybe you applied there and you haven't heard back. Whatever it is, welcome, Fred. So whatever it is, it's taking some actions there. They're going to move you one step closer to your goals. And, I have goals in about 7 different areas, right? So I have goals, for example, I have a health-related goal. I have a professional-related goal. I have something related to fun, I have a personal-related goal as well. And so, and I'll show that to you on another Periscope. But, having these goals is really important because that's going to be the motivation to compel you. It's going to draw you into the future, right? And when I work with different clients, I often see them kind of circling around and around and around and not getting anywhere. And usually because they don't know where they want to go. They don't know where they want to go. And so when you don't know where you want to go, it's easy to get lost. That's great. Thanks for sharing, K9. And so it's easy to get lost. It's easy to get lost when we don't know where we're going. And what was that? I'm forgetting that story. You guys can remind me that story. Like if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where you're going, anywhere will do, something like that. I'm murdering that that quote. You guys might be able to phrase it better than me. I'll look it up and then bring it back up. But one of the key things really is, am I taking responsibility, right? Or am I just putting it off on someone else, right? So my boss isn't doing enough for me, or my, I can't do this because my benefits, right? And some of us may say, well, I need benefits, so I can't move to the job I'd really love to move to, and so we feel handcuffed. Well, in all honesty, there's plenty of examples of us that, there's good things. There's always going to be things we're giving up, right? Whenever we make a change is scary. Change is scary. There's always going to be things we're giving up, but you can't get to. I don't know if you guys play baseball at all or watch baseball, but you can't steal second base unless you take your foot off first base, right? You have to take your foot off first base at some point, right? So if second base is your goal, you got to take your foot off first base, right? Unless you're Paul Bunyan or something and you got long legs, you can reach both of them, right? So yeah, every change involves risk. Every change, you're giving something up. But the key thing is, and I think I talked about this in another Periscope, when you have a strong vision or a strong goal of what you want to achieve, that can overwhelm any fears that you have, right? That's really what you want. You want a vision so compelling and a goal, some goal so concrete and clear to you that it just totally overrides whatever fears you have. It totally overrides whatever fears you have. And, for example, I was sharing on another Periscope. For me, I love to learn. That's one of the things I value. I'm always reading something. I'm always going to conferences or retreats or just looking inside and reflecting on, what could I do better? Those types of things. And so I'll give the kind of shortened version, but, I was born with a hearing loss, so 40% in each ear. And that was a struggle. That was a struggle growing up. And so, I had a hearing aid, but I didn't really wear it out in public. Just, maybe at home with my family. I was self-conscious. I was concerned about fitting in. I was concerned about being teased or whatnot. And so, I missed out. I missed out on a lot. And I was frustrated because my dreams evolved over the years. But ultimately, I wanted to help others and teach others and advise others. I knew that much at the time. And it wasn't until I was a sophomore in college that I was in a philosophy class, right? 200 people. Can you believe it? Have you guys ever been in a class that big? 200 people, big lecture hall, Philosophy 101, right? And I was so frustrated. Yeah, so I prefer the smaller class sizes, right? 30 people, maybe 25. So I was frustrated, came home frustrated because I wasn't catching everything. And I reached a point and said, you know what, screw it. Screw it. There's been too much. I finally decided I'm going to go out and get some hearing aids. And, it cost me, a pretty penny. It's like $4,000. But because my goal was, I knew I wanted to help others. I wanted to teach. I wanted to, eventually coach and be a consultant, if you will. I needed to be able to hear well, or at least better, nothing else, right? And just with friends, I didn't like asking people to repeat themselves all the time. So, in high school, one of the things that happened was I was out Friday night with a friend of mine and two of his friends. So there were four of us in the car, and I was in the back seat. And, in the front of the car, one of his friends, was saying something, asking me a question. I didn't quite hear it, so I just faked it. I faked my way. I just said, I don't know. That was kind of my go-to answer. I don't know, or yes, or, whatever, right? I'm just kind of faking it because I was too embarrassed to ask him, right? I was too self-conscious to ask him to repeat himself or whatnot. He turns around and he says in the car, he says, you don't know your own name? I was mortified. And that was tough. I was really embarrassed at that point. And I had many instances like that throughout my life. And so here I am as a sophomore in college. I'm like, you know what, screw it. Went and got the hearing aids. And then I remember a good friend of mine at the time. Well, he's a class. He wasn't a good friend at the time, but he was a new friend. Someone in one of my classes who happened to live in my apartment complex. I remember wearing them. He was the first person to see me wearing these hearing aids. And it didn't even register for him. Like, so what? So what? And good evening. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back, Eclipse. So it didn't even register with him. So, for me, I was like, that's interesting. Okay, so maybe it's just in my head. I started to think that. And sure enough, over time, same thing. It pushed me through having that clear vision, that desire, right? That burning desire, and being in touch with what that burning desire is, propelled me to action, right? It overcame the fears. So when it came time in grad school, right? In grad school, I was teaching a Psych 101 course, and I was kind of terrified. Like, I really wanted to teach. I was excited about that, but I was afraid that I wasn't going to be able to hear students asking the questions. I wasn't going to understand them, right? And it was my fear was heightened when the class setup was I'm in the very front of the room, and there's like at least 30 feet between me and the front row. It was a very long, narrow room, probably about 40 students in the class or so, and the acoustics were horrible. And that was tough. I really had to muster through it, and some of those fears were realized in the sense that I wasn't able to hear everything. But what happened was I stuck with it, and some people in the front row would just share what the questions were with me. And I also discovered something new. I didn't have to stand in the front behind the lectern. I could actually walk up to where everyone was, close the space in between. And actually it worked better because I was able to engage them more, right? It's more engaging, right? Versus like if you were watching me right now and I were like, way the size of an ant, in the back of the room, type of thing, right? It's not as engaging, right? You might hear me, but it's not as engaging. So again, going back to taking action, it's definitely tied to, kind of our goals and having that passion as well. Kind of where it is, where are we now? Where do we want to go? And what are some things? So, I don't know what questions you have. I meant this to be kind of a short broadcast tonight, shorter than usual. I know I started later than usual. And tomorrow night, my plans to start at 5. We're going to do 5 o'clock Fridays, right? I'm going to come up with themes, fun themes for things. So 5 o'clock Fridays or High Five Fridays, come up with something, and it's really going to be for Q&A. And so I want to encourage you guys to come prepared with questions and all that. Great. Oh, welcome. First time here? Welcome. Welcome. Glad you're enjoying it. Peterson, Quell, what do you prefer to be called? So let me know. And I'll try to remember for next time. And so, what questions or comments do you have? What are your experiences? What are your experiences? Raquel, great. Welcome, Raquel. And so, that's where things are at. Now, the other thing is to be kind to yourself, right? To be kind to yourself. So what happens when, here I am advocating that you write down, 5 things you're going to do each day that's going to move you closer to your goal or your goals, right? Big or small, whatever it is. And let's say you're like, yeah, I like what Mike's saying. I'm going to try that out. I'm going to adopt that. And then, 3 days from now, you end up, maybe you get one thing done, or maybe you don't do anything. You forget to write them down, whatever it is, right? When I say, don't beat yourself up if that happens. Be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. So, as long as you have clear intent and revisiting your goals, and it's a habit, right? Like brushing your teeth, it's a habit. So you just, exactly. Focus on the solution and focus on what you want, right? Because if you focus on, Raquel, right? If you focus on what you don't want, to some point that can be helpful, right? It can really clarify for you, kind of polarize what you don't want versus what you do want. Okay, that can be helpful. And so, and part of creating new habits is by focusing on what you don't want. It's like a Zen thing, right? What you focus your attention on tends to grow or expand, right? What you focus your attention on tends to grow or expand. And so, it's kind of like, I know we've got some folks of my brothers on the call, so welcome, dog trainers, right? So that's awesome. But what do you do when you're focused on dog training, right? Are you totally focusing on everything that the dogs are doing wrong, right? Yeah, you might do some corrections and all that, but no, you're doing recognition, right? Rewarding. You're rewarding them for the behavior you want to see, right? You're doing a lot of that combination, right? So it's the same thing with us when we're trying to achieve our goals. Do any of you mountain bike? Yes, I'm Jeff's brother, believe it or not. I kind of got hooked on Periscope because of him, right? He introduced me to Periscope. He's my inspiration for doing these Periscopes. I'm trying it out. We're very different. He's very extroverted, totally out there, and I am, I'm more on the introverted side. And so, we're very different in some ways, personality-wise. But he's great, and he's doing great. I really admire what he's doing. So he does good stuff. He does good work. So just a plug for him. If any of you need a dog trainer, my brother Jeff Gelman, Google him. He'll pop up. So. He travels all over the place too, so just a little plug for him. He's pretty amazing, and his staff as well. So if you're looking for a dog trainer, this is a shameless plug for my brother there. But so back to achieving goals, and so one of the things I like to mountain bike. I haven't done a ton lately, but one of the things I learned earlier, I'll share two stories with you. All right, that relates to what you focus on is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of. So, story number one. I was out in Kingman, Arizona, right, the high desert country, with a buddy of mine and one of his friends. This was many moons ago, and I was relatively new to mountain biking, and so we're doing a lot of climbing, and we get to this point where it's time to go downhill. It's time to go downhill, right? And there's this hill, we're going downhill, and welcome, Mike. Yeah, welcome, Mike. And And so we're downhill. So I watch my friends go first. Now, at the bottom of this hill, right, you kind of go down and then a quick up. At the bottom of this hill, there is this muddy bog. That's the best way to describe it. Yeah, thumbs up to you as well, Mike. Thank you. So the way to describe it is this muddy bog with this narrow ridge, right? Imagine this, it's all dirt, right? Around it. It's all, we're in desert, right? Sand, dirt, whatever. There's this narrow ridge, a dry patch, about, I'm going to say 8 inches wide. 8 inches wide. The rest of it, 12 to 15 feet wide is like this muddy bog, this goo. That's the best way to describe it. And I kept repeating myself like, oh man, I do not want to fall in the muddy goo. I do not want to fall in there at all. And, my friend goes down, he clears, he gets on the middle ridge. His buddy goes down, he clears it fine. And I'm going down and I'm wrestling with a few things. Number one, I've never gone that fast on a mountain bike. Feel a little out of control. Number two, I'm so focused on not falling in. Well, I get down there, right? And here I am, and I'm like, I did it. I hit the ridge, but I was so nervous. I was telling myself, don't fall in, and I lost it. I totally lost it, and I totally went sideways right into this. And I was just like, half my body was totally covered in this muck, and it took the both of them to pull me out. It was like, not quicksand, but it was really sticky, gooey. They had to pull me out of that. And so that's example one. I was focused on, I was focused on the mud. I was focused on the mud rather than just focus on the dry spot. That's my goal, right? Focus on where it is you want to go, not where you don't want to go. Because subconsciously, funny things happen. What your subconscious hears when you say avoid the mud, right? It says mud, mud. It doesn't hear the don't go in the mud. It hears mud, mud. And you're attracting that, right? So that's one example. What was the other one? Oh, this is more metaphorical. Yeah, it is easy to focus on the wrong thing, isn't it, Raquel? So, yeah, I know. It's amazing when fear takes control of us. And, one of the things I learned, I'm always working on. I have not mastered fear, but I am so much better at mastering fear. Going back to the hearing aids and my hearing loss, different touch points, there's always fear involved, right? And mastering it. And I had to dare myself to change. I dared myself to change, right? So I challenged myself. I said, Mike, you can do better than this. You can do better than this. So another mountain bike story, and this is more metaphorical. This is kind of the Zen moment. This is Zen part of the program, right? Exactly. So this is employees a lot of times, or individuals that I coach or who want to be coached or feeling stuck will lament, right, that things aren't working out right. Their boss is in the way or whatever it is. They just have bad luck, or they interview, but they never get the job. Their peer gets promoted. Whatever it may be. So I equivocate that to a big boulder. So if I'm mountain biking, right, and there's this giant boulder in front of me in the middle of the trail, right? I'm on this trail. We can call it a single track. Big boulder. And I come across it, I have some choices I can make in how I respond to that, right? Don't I? So what choices do I have? What choices do I have? Right? I'm coming up full speed. I can either, I can stop, right? I can stop in front of it and curse the boulder. Like, what the heck's this, boulder doing in the middle of the darn trail? Who put this here? Why didn't someone move it? Right? And I can curse it, right? And then I can come back again, ride the trail again. I'm like, crap, it's still there. What the heck, And so by the third time, it's like, shame on me. By the second, third time, it's shame on me. Why am I still cursing it? It's just a rock. It's there, right? That's just the reality. It's there. I have other choices I can make, right? I can either A, go around it, right? I can say, you know what? Oh, there it is. There's that rock again, and not get so attached to it, right? Not get so attached to it, and just there's a level of acceptance. There's a level of letting go and detachment, right? And recognizing what is. Yeah, you can go over it. That's another obstacle too. If I were more skilled, I could do a bunny hop over it. Yeah, or you won't move forward, exactly. So I could go around it, or, there's always side trails. I could take a whole different route altogether. I could take a whole different route altogether. But to stay there just cursing it. And the same thing is if we have a difficult person in our life, right? How many of you have a difficult person in your life? Right? Someone you just totally butt heads with, or someone that just is toxic. You could totally just complain. It's like, they're in the way of me being happy. Right? If it weren't for them, if they were out of my life, or if they behaved differently, I would be happy. Well, your life might be a little easier, but trust me, there's always, and I know in the workplace, if there's a difficult team member, there's always going to be someone else that takes their place, isn't there? Right? Yingy, what do you mean me? Me. Are you the difficult person? You're not the difficult person, are you? So, there's always going to be someone, difficult that enters into our lives, but we have a choice to choose how we respond. We have a choice to choose how we respond. And again, that goes back to action, right? We have choices. We can either try to work things out with the individual. We can either just not take the bait and not engage in that way. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, your sister's a difficult person, Yangi? Got it. Yeah, and so, we have a choice. It's like, well, how much is it worth to us? So if we're talking about a relationship, whether it's a working relationship or like your sister, Yangi, you have to decide, well, what do I really want? Do I want a good relationship with her, or do I not care? Right? It's the same thing with your career goals. Do I really want this, or am I indifferent to it, right? Am I doing this just because my parents wanted me to pursue this, right? Or am I doing this because my guidance counselor in college or high school, or my friend said, hey, you should do this, right? Am I under someone else's influence? I see that all the time. And so a lot of times we blindly pursue these goals that aren't our goals. We pursue these dreams that are not our own dream, right? They're not our own dream. And so that's what I like. That's what I love about working with people, helping them discover their dream and own it, that they deserve it. They deserve to have their own dream. And so it doesn't matter if you just got your engineering degree or you just got certified and you realize, you know what? That's not what I want to do. Yeah, don't they, Raquel? Sometimes we don't even realize how much we're influenced. And that's why it's helpful to work with a coach or have a mentor or, a trusted friend or someone that you can be reflecting board with, right? Someone who's objective, that's not in your situation, that can see things a little more clearly, right? It's always more difficult to see things clearly ourselves, right? Even myself. So, for example, I have a mentor coach, right? I'm a coach. I think I do a pretty decent job at coaching. I'm always working to get better. I could get a lot better, so I'm always working on that. But I have a mentor coach. Why? Well, number one, because I always feel there's something to learn, right? And by the way, if any of you are looking, I think we're going to do Periscope on coaches, right? Like what to look for in a coach. Because a lot of people aren't sure, how to find a good coach. There's a lot of people out there calling themselves like a career coach or whatnot. And all honesty, technically anyone could call themselves that, but they might not be very qualified. So I think I'm going to do a Periscope on that to help you guys out. Kind of what are some things to look for. But, certainly I will share one with you tonight. Ask this prospective coach, do they have a coach? Ask them, who's your coach? Do you have a coach? right? That's a great question. And their response will be very telling, right? So if they say, well, I don't have one, or if they say, I don't need one, something to think about. My coach has a coach. He's a pioneer in the coaching field. He started like 30 years ago coaching, and he has a coach. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. Welcome, Dave. Welcome. So it doesn't matter what level you're at. You can always learn, and even the masters have coaches. Jack Canfield, I spent a week with him in August, and awesome program. I'm going to be teaching some of his materials. It's Breakthrough to Success. If you haven't read that book, great book. And so, I was talking with him, and we were at lunch together one day, and he has his own mentors and coaches, and this guy, he sold 500 million books. It's like, what does he need to learn? He's amassed 500 million. He's in the Guinness Book of World Records for selling the most books. Phenomenal. But even he has one. So, the reason I'm kind of sharing this is, look, we all struggle. We all reach points where we get stuck. And it's helpful to, you're a fan of Jack? He's got a lot of what they call Jackaholics. I've been listening to his audio program. I commute to LA a lot from Orange County, and so I use that time, and I listen to kind of the audio tape. And I have his original book, but audio tape seems to work better for me because I'm on the road quite a bit with my commute. But in any event, so taking action, going back to that, having the clear goals, focusing on our development, focusing on what it is we want versus letting that drive you more than not what you don't want, okay? The exception is if you know that what you want is to be around healthy people, right, in terms of relationships, if you want to be around healthy people, then, yeah, try to surround yourself with healthy people. When you come across someone who's toxic, well, avoid them, or if it's someone in your family, you don't always have that luxury. Right, Yagi? You don't always have that luxury. I don't know what your situation is, but family members, holiday times are funny because for some people it's like, woohoo! Other people, they're just stressed out, right? Because there's dysfunction in the family. Same thing at work. So you can distance yourself. You can detach, right? Just like that rock in the middle of the bike trail. You can say, oh, there they are going up again, being, negative or critical. But I'm not gonna buy into that. Yeah, they can drag you down, can't they, Raquel? So believe me, I've had my share of people in my life that fit that category. But I got to tell you how liberating it is. How liberating it is to just, what? That's how they are. I'm not going to try to change them. That's who they are, and I'm just going to try to just detach from that and not just engage in that. And if I need to, then I'm just sticking to the facts. I'm just sticking to what's the purpose of this interaction with them. I just need an answer. Do I need a yes or no answer? Do I just need a piece of information? If I need to coordinate something with them. Yeah, ideally, we don't always have that luxury though, right, Raquel? But if we can break free, yes. But that's why people leave their jobs primarily because of their boss. They don't like their boss, right? I mean, many people leave for more money, or many people leave for another great opportunity they can't pass up that they're passionate about. But yeah, certainly. But with family, you're kind of stuck in some ways. But many people would say, you know what? I'm cutting myself off from the family. I've seen that. It's sad, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes that's necessary. Unfortunately, I mean, yeah. So, absolutely. So those are some of my thoughts around goals and taking action. And the other thing to keep in mind with regards to pursuing your goals is it's not a direct path. Very rarely, right? Think about goals that you guys have achieved. All of you have that are listening in right now. All of you have achieved goals of yours. Every day you achieve something, right? You might not recognize it as such, every day you do. And so one of the things, actually another habit, a good practice to keep you positive and focused on what you want is the gratitude, daily gratitude. I'm going to do a Periscope on that. I think I might make it a weekly thing, like on Saturdays or something. So this is kind of evolving. This is my experiment. I'm doing these Periscopes for about a few weeks. So I've done it. This is my 1 week anniversary. 1 week anniversary, okay? Doing this. A very big stretch. I'm definitely stretching my comfort zone doing these because, like on Facebook, the only time I participate on Facebook is kudos to people, right? Friends in my network, you know, and I don't really volunteer much on it. So for me to go from from that to what I'm doing right now is like from the Stone Age to the future. I'm leapfrogging a few generations of technology and publicity here, you know, being public here. But I'm really, why am I doing this? Thank you. Why am I doing this? Because I'm passionate about helping people reach their potential. I love it. I love helping people reach their potential. I love helping them get unstuck. I love seeing the light go off for them or challenging their thinking. I do that a lot. I'm not the type of coach that's going to be, I don't know what the word is, polite all the time. I'm definitely kind. I'm kind, but not necessarily polite, you know, and I let people know, you know, I am the type of coach that will challenge your thinking on things. Is that something that will work for you? You know, and most people, they want that, right? Most people want that, even if it's difficult to hear sometimes. Because it's a lot of times our assumptions about ourselves, or we're so used to doing things a certain way that we don't even realize. I think Raquel, you mentioned earlier, great, glad you're finding it motivating. A lot of times we don't even realize that we're our own worst enemy. We don't realize we're our own worst enemy. And so, you know, that's one of the things that, you know, the better we know ourselves and the more we're learning about ourselves, that's our biggest tool. That's our biggest tool for getting to our goals. It's getting to our goals. And so if we have flaws, own it. Own it and, you know, work at getting better at what you can. But for me, I'm an advocate of focusing even more on your strengths. You can go a long way. Marcus Buckingham is like the evangelist for that, right? He kind of led a revolution on building on your strengths, right? And he used to be with the Gallup organization, who does, you're probably familiar with Gallup. They've done tons of polls, particularly with elections, but they do polls on everything. Everything in the workplace, political, you name it. And he was from that organization, so very research-based. And he discovered, in First Break All the Rules, that was kind of one of his books, that focusing on your strengths gets you much further. It gets you a lot further because what happens is, think about it. The things that you're strong at, they're generally things. Yeah, taking responsibility is huge. Yeah, it's huge. So focusing on things that we're interested in, what naturally happens, right? So let's draw this out logically. So you have an interest in something, right? Maybe you love gardening. Maybe you love to surf the web and research information on something. So, you know, maybe you love to teach. You like astronomy. Hey, that's awesome. You know, that was my pipe dream when I was in junior high, Kanie. I don't know if I've shared this before, but I'll make a diversion if you guys want to hear about this. But I originally wanted to be an astronomer. And in 7th grade, I had to do a career report, right? We were assigned career reports. And so naturally, what did I pick? I chose astronomy, right? I wanted to be an astronomer. So what happened was, so I did my research, and you know what? I found out 3 really disappointing things. One, that you pretty much needed to be like a Carl Sagan to make a living at astronomy, to make any money. And Carl Sagan, for those of you, tap a heart or type me a text if you know who Carl Sagan is. If you don't know who he is, he had his own, yeah, you would, right, Katie? Yeah, definitely. He had his own show on PBS about the cosmos for many, many years, and he was on, you know, a lot of the talk shows and whatnot. And You pretty much needed to be like him to make a living. So I discovered that. I'm like, crap, okay, can't make much money. Welcome, self. So you got to do that to make any money. Number two, I discovered that most astronomers work at universities. And so think about it. When you're in school, I mean, I like school, but I didn't really like school, right? You know, homework, all that stuff. I'm like, work at a university, work at a school. When I finish high school, I'm out of here. When I finish college, I'm out. I don't want to like actually work at a university, right? I mean, can you imagine 7th grade spending eternity at school? You're thinking, no. The third thing I discovered was you need to know something called physics. You need to learn something called physics. And I'm thinking, physics? I just want to look at the stars, you know, Big Dipper, the moon, Little Dipper, you know, the constellations. You like physics? Well, awesome. Oh, good. Awesome. So that's good that you like physics. Are you pursuing the astronomer path? Are you, or maybe you are already. Maybe you're already an astronomer. So anyhow, it became a hobby for me. But it was in high school I took a human relations class. And just a hobby. Great. You know, I took a human relations class. I'm like, wow, you know, I loved it. I love discovering like what makes people tick, and what makes me tick, what makes other people tick, what motivates people, things like that. And ever since, you know, that point, I also, you know, people had given me feedback that said, Mike, you know, you're really good at listening, and you know, you really helped me out, because I was usually the one in high school that people would share their problems with. And usually I would just listen, and they'd say, oh, Mike, you were just so awesome. You're such a big help. And I'd be like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. And this went on for so long. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm just listen, right? And again, that was a strength apparently that I had. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. What I am trying to share is that, because I can improve. Definitely I can improve. But no, certainly we don't often realize what our strengths or talents are because we've been doing it all the time. And so when I was talking about Marcus Buckingham and focus on your strengths, they're talents that we might have a blind spot, and I'm going to have a whole periscope on blind spots. That'll be fun. But when we focus on our strengths, or things that interest us, that we're drawn to, what happens? We do it more often, right? If it's things we like, we do it more often. Right? So if we like to run, or if we like to bike, if we like to dance, or if we like to socialize with friends, whatever, if we like movie, whatever it is you like doing or experiencing, you tend to do it more often. When you do something more often, what happens typically? You get better at it, right? You get better at it. It's like practice, whatever it is. You get. Yeah, we do, don't we? Raquel, absolutely. Welcome, Neuro. We tend to, we're hard on ourselves, myself included. I am totally guilty of that. And one of the things that I also do, and I'll share this maybe on the Gratitude Saturday or something, is affirmations, positive affirmations, but also learning to be kind to ourselves and not beat ourselves up. I'm totally with you there, because I have high expectations for myself. Right? And so for me, and which drives me with the clients I work with, because when I see for myself, when I see my potential, like or someone else, I see, you know, I could do better, I could be like that, or I want to be like that. Yeah, that's when the critic comes, that inner critic comes out, right? We beat ourselves up. And that's not healthy, right? That just stops us from taking action towards our goals, because we're just beating ourselves up. And we're not celebrating the successes we have. And so that's where the gratitude part comes in. Every night before I go to bed, I have a gratitude journal, actually. I don't know if any of you keep one, you know, and but I write 2 things in, no more and no less. I keep it easy. And I just write kind of, what am I grateful for that happened today? And I just keep it short and sweet. And then you've kind of got a record to look back at. And, you know, if you're feeling down or criticizing yourself, you can look at it. You try to keep one, Yeah, it takes a habit. That's why I just do two things, Kani. Is keep it easy. Like literally, I can do it within under a minute before I go to bed. And I keep it right next to my bed, and I try to keep it simple. And there's other habits I've been trying to build in, such as affirmations. I do that every night too. I used to think that affirmations were kind of woo-woo. I remember my version of affirmations when I was a kid, Saturday Night Live. Did you guys watch that? Was it Stuart Smalley? He said, look in the mirror. And he would hold his hand up like this and say, hey, you. I know you. I know you. Or I believe in myself. I like myself. And gosh darn it, people like me. Something like that, right? It was hilarious, right? But, you know, there's actually power to doing positive affirmations. There's actually power. It changes your brain chemistry. There's science behind it to support this stuff now. You know, I thought it was kind of woo-woo stuff. And I'm just like, okay, this sounds nice. I can kind of go with it, but does it really work? Well, I have to tell you, not only do I do it in the evening, but when I run by myself, I'm not doing it. If I'm running with someone, I'm usually talking with them, whatever. But when I'm running by myself, that's meditation for me. I'm repeating affirmations. Every half mile, I have 2 new affirmations. I have 2 new affirmations every half mile. You know, I might say like, I am courageous and focused. I am courageous and focused. And I don't know, I've probably said that 50 times by the time I change over to the next pair of affirmations, right? I am healthy and strong. I'm healthy and I'll just repeat this in my head. Sometimes I'll say it a little bit out loud at first just to vocalize it. And what you're doing is you're training your brain. Again, you're focusing on what you want. So maybe you're not completely healthy. Maybe you're not feeling totally strong, right? But your mind works that way. I've done it with when I'm feeling tightness in my calf while I'm running. I say, you know, I'll just say I'm relaxed and I'm feeling great or whatever. There's always I am, right? The power of I am. If you've ever listened to, oh gosh, I'm spacing on it. Joel Osteen. Probably mispronouncing his name. He has this YouTube video. Go watch it tonight before you go to sleep. This was, I watched this. Yeah, that's the pastor, right? That's the pastor. And I'm not a big fan in terms of all his religious leanings per se. That's not my faith. But he does have a lot of great stuff. And the power of I am for me was a simple hook. Again, I like keeping it simple, something I can do that's not going to feel overwhelming. The power of I am is incredible. Incredible. And so, again, you're training your brain, and you can literally reprogram your brain. And there's books on this. Martin Seligman, you can look him up, of positive psychology. He's been doing research on this thinking for at least 30 years, and he's written a lot of books. I've got a few of his books. Maybe I'll share some of my book collection one night. That'll be kind of fun. Kind of share some books that have been influential for me, and kind of share some of those with you. You know, because I've been doing this for over 20 years. You know, around motivation and leadership development and human potential, and I go to at least 2 retreats a year. That's my goal. I think last year I only made it to 1. But I live and breathe this stuff. I love it. And, you know, so I stretch myself out of my comfort zone. Some of the stuff's kind of new agey. All right. I'm not trying to sell you on stuff that doesn't work or sell you on stuff that's just totally out there. But the key thing is you got to find what works for you. Right. So I'm not selling. If you're like, you know what, Mike, and I meditate. So Mike, I can't meditate. I just can't sit still or whatever. You give it a try if you want, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Try something else. There's a lot of ways to get to the same goal, right? So it's just like having that boulder in the middle of that path again. You can go around to the left, you can go around to the right, you can take a whole different trail. You can take a helicopter, whatever, fly over it. You can jump over it, whatever. There's a lot of different ways to reach your goal. You don't have to be stuck. You don't have to be stuck in front of it. So I've been going on and on. This this is kind of astounding to me. It's been about an hour now, so I should probably cut this short for tonight. Hopefully there's been some nuggets for you guys of some value. Again, I'm shooting from the hip a bit, and that's my intent. I don't want to have to prepare for these periscopes. I do a lot of that in my regular day-to-day. So this is just all from the heart and shooting from the hip. So again, tomorrow night, if you have questions, we're going to make it Career Question Friday, or 5 o'clock Friday career questions. So come prepared with questions that you have about your career. And it can be about life. It can be about life. It can be about fear or resistance from others, right? That happens when we're pursuing a goal. We'll get resistance or negativity from others. So tune in. For those of you on the East Coast, you'll love it because it'll be 8 o'clock your time. So I recognize I've been doing these late. I'm in California. So again, my name is Mike Gelman. I'm a career coach. I work in a Fortune 500 company. I manage a career coaching center for employees. I also do a lot of consulting to leaders within companies. And I have a front row seat to the conversations that leaders are having, your bosses are having in the companies, and what they're talking about when you're not in the room. I'm facilitating a lot of these meetings here. My website is mikegelman.com, mikegelman.com, MikeGellman, mikegelman.com. You'll see a link to my book, Pipe Dreams, 7 Pipelines of Career Success. If you go to my resource page, you will see some articles I've written, as well as some appearances. Well, if you're in California, I've got some bookings coming up. But go to my Facebook page, my Facebook author page, facebook.com/7pipelines, facebook.com/7pipelines. Like the page, and I typically announce, oh, did you, Raquel? Weren't they awesome? Yeah. My mom did well, didn't she? Were you listening to her about the soaps and all that stuff? Yeah, they're great. They're great parents. I had good role, and they have their flaws. Believe me, they have their flaws. They're great parents, good role models for me. And my father and my mother combined, it was powerful, wasn't it? It was powerful. Yeah, I have a little bit of both of them. My brother does too, but in very different ways. I like to think I've gotten the best of both of them. I was fortunate. I know not all of us are fortunate to have, positive role models in some of our parents. I get that part. And so, but it's not the end all be all, right? Someone was saying take 100% responsibility. It doesn't have to define us. I could have wallowed in terms of my hearing loss too, and said, I'm not going to be able to do whatever, right? I'm just stuck with this. But there's people with worse things, way worse, right? Everything's relative, of course, in our own mind, but and they've achieved amazing things. So if you have the dream, and that's kind of why my book was called, Pipe Dreams, is, it's kind of a double entendre in a way, because pipe dreams, oftentimes we use that as a term to think that's not attainable, right? It's just a pipe dream. It's a wish. It's a wish. But to circle back to what this Periscope was about, by taking action, it doesn't have to be a wish, right? You can achieve your dreams by taking action. There's plenty of examples of people who have overcome incredible odds. And I'll share some stories in future Periscopes of people I've come across in my life who've done astounding things. You're like, holy crap. If they can do that, I can at least, do some things to move myself towards my dreams rather than give excuses. So again, MikeGellman.com. Go to Facebook, like my page on Facebook, my Facebook author page. You'll get updates of when I'm going to be on. Tonight I didn't send one out because I was out running and I didn't get back till late. But Facebook.com/7pipelines. And then follow me on Periscope so you'll get notified when I'm live and all that. So if you like what you're seeing, then I'll continue these. So I'm going to assess after a few weeks. And maybe 2 more weeks is my point to say, should I continue or not, right? And so I'm going to assess. see how it goes. Maybe I'll run out of things to say. But I don't know. That was kind of one of my fears. Am I going to have enough to say? But apparently, I at least tonight I did. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you for the encouragement and the positive thoughts. I appreciate it. And keep pursuing your dreams. Hold on to your dreams, everyone. So, good night, and hope to see you tomorrow night. Take care.